Hey everyone, it's Angie Coley, and today I wanted to talk about thoughts and feelings. And I know that you didn't really come to an entrepreneurial or a business channel to hear about thoughts and feelings, but I promise that this is part of a solid foundation to helping you kick all kinds of ass. So I really wanted to talk about mental health because there will come a point in your business where you have to face all those fears and anxieties, and you might have to push yourself really, really far. And without a job to give you kind of a mental health day, and if you're not at the stage in your business where you can take time off without taking an income hit, then this train's got to keep rolling whether you're feeling like it or not. And I don't say that to scare you, because the reality is the only thing that is sure in life is that uncertainty, unexpected things are going to happen to you. That's how I found myself it was like 6 months into starting my fledgling business back in 2017, suddenly in the middle of a very nasty breakup, having to split all of our stuff, having to pack things up, having to decide who takes the condo, who takes the cats, like figuring all that out, coordinating that, also figuring out a cross-country move because I just wanted to get away as far away as possible, and San Francisco, where I lived at the time, was really expensive, wanted to go somewhere cheaper. So I'm trying to run a business, keep the lights on, coordinate a cross-country move with all my stuff, pack up all my things, and keep it together in the midst of all this emotional turmoil. And I couldn't take a sick day off and still make my bills. So, it might be tempting in this time to call your clients and let them know what's going on so that maybe they can work with you a little bit. But here's the thing. My clients aren't my friends. And me telling them what I'm going through personally they still have a business to run too. And if they're depending on me, all I've done by telling them what I'm going through is introduce an element of doubt. And I'm sure, since I work with really awesome people, that they would be compassionate and caring, but there might be in the back of their head, naturally, oh crap, is she going to be able to get this done because she's going through so much right now? I didn't want to make that an option. So I started looking around for solutions, and I started thinking about how do I prioritize the work where I can get as much done as possible to keep the minimum to keep things running without slacking off, but not kind of sinking into work to avoid dealing with things. And I don't know. I have a saying, and I used to say this when I was in-house and I was running teams, like, when I'm at work, I'm here to work. And I really try not to let what's happening in my personal life, in my head, my feelings, affects the work that I'm doing. And that separation has been really critical for me as an entrepreneur, especially now in the still during COVID crisis, where a lot of us are working from home. Starting to separate always on from I need to be off to replenish and recharge the well and actually run this business efficiently. It's a real challenge, but I try to do that for that very reason. I keep the line between my work and my personal life fairly clear. I don't necessarily keep them separate because I like to be who I am with my clients. I don't like to have a business face and a personal face, but my clients, the people that are paying me to do a job, also don't necessarily need to know that I'm going through a breakup. They need to know I'm sick because that could have a material impact on the projects. They might need to know if I'm having a death in the family or something like that, but that's one thing to think about as an entrepreneur, that remember, clients aren't your friends. It's not your job to be friends with your clients. You could be friends with your clients, but don't approach your relationship with your clients as these are my best friends, because at the end of the day, they still need to have confidence in your ability to make decisions, in your emotional state. And, sometimes you can go there and share those really personal things, and sometimes you can't. So just I'm not saying don't ever tell clients, but be cognizant of what you're really sharing and whether you're introducing that doubt in your ability to get things done. Now, I am someone who can bury herself in the work to avoid dealing with feelings. But for some reason, when this breakup was going down, that just wasn't happening. So one of my really good friends, Melanie Warren, at the time I couldn't afford a therapist because I was just starting on this business, but she introduced me to something called cognitive behavioral therapy. And I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychologist, I don't even play one on TV. I don't pretend to understand this at a deep level, but I wanted to share a tool that really worked for me in a hard time in my life and something I still try to practice to this day because it helps me keep a very even keel and not get upset over small things and really just save my energy for the battles that are worth fighting. So what, in my interpretation, cognitive behavioral therapy comes down to cognitive behavioral therapy. And there are actually like little apps that you can download to play this game on your phone that will, and they're fun, that shows you, in a nutshell, that this particular form of therapy is about separating thoughts and feelings and deciding what you're going to think right now, what you're going to feel right now, and being okay with that. I'll give you an example, maybe, because I know kind of on the surface that it's not really obvious that thoughts and feelings are separate things. But, maybe you have a queasy feeling in your gut, and then your brain pops in and says, oh, right, I have to make a presentation later today, I'm getting nervous. Or maybe you think about the person that you have a crush on or the person that you love, and then you immediately notice some butterflies in the stomach or some goosebumps or some sort of pleasant feeling that goes through your body. So there's kind of a mental component and a physical component depending on how you feel your feelings. I'm a very physical in my body. We're getting a little woo here, but like if I have a very powerful feeling, I will feel it like in my skin, in my musculature. If I'm stressed, I'll start to pull my shoulders up around my ears. So I start to notice what I'm feeling physically, mentally, and what I'm thinking. And notice the way that I describe those, like queasy feeling and then a thought. Or thinking of the person that you have a crush on and then the butterflies. They're two separate things. And what really helped me when I was going through that breakup is, I'd get sucked into that anxiety and the pain of dealing with all of the hurt feelings and all of the drama. And it would stop me from doing the work. And then I'd start circling slowly and I'd come up with a thought that justifies the hurt. I'd get more hurt, and then I'd come up with more thoughts. And then before long, I'm just sitting there talking to myself about everything that was wrong with that relationship, beating myself up. And I didn't even know that I was doing it. I wasn't conscious that I was doing it because my feelings and my thoughts had hijacked me. I wasn't in control. So here is how you take back your power. At least this is what worked for me. When I start to feel a very powerful feeling and that brain kicks in and starts explaining and justifying the feeling and it starts racing and I can't really make sense of it, I'll take a couple deep breaths and ask myself what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling. Because often just identifying the emotion that I'm feeling and the reason that I'm feeling that way are enough to kind of short circuit the chain and get me back to normal, Oh crap, I'm feeling really nervous because I have to make this big decision. Or I'm feeling really frustrated because I can't get this person to talk to me. Just naming it and claiming it and accepting that that is a feeling that's happening and that there's a reason behind it, that goes a long way. So what helped me when I'm circling the drain during a big breakup and I still have to keep my head on straight well enough to do work for my clients was asking myself, once I've identified the feeling and the thought behind it, do I need to feel this right now? Is this helpful? Am I doing work or am I just stuck in a cycle? And I started picturing these negative thoughts that were really kind of making me tense and screwing up my insides. I started picturing putting them in a bubble and letting them float away. Like, this will come back and I will deal with this later, but for right now, what I need to focus on is work. And I'm inviting this feeling to come back and I'll deal with this later because I don't want to get stuck in patterns. And that's a very critical thing that I want to bring up too. just because you don't have to think this right now, you don't have to feel this right now, doesn't mean you should never think or feel this, because if you put off dealing with that, figuring out the cause, working on a way to get past it and not repeat it, then you'll be stuck in that pattern of dealing with the same kind of situation and problem over and over again, because our brains really like to loop on themselves until they come up with a solution to a problem that we've been experiencing. So, yeah, I mean, ultimately you're going to have to feel the feelings. You're going to have to deal with it and do the deep work, or otherwise, like I mentioned, you're going to be stuck in a pattern and just frustrated without really knowing why, because that pattern just keeps repeating itself. But just remember, when the name of the game is get through today, and I don't have time to deal with this, that there's a way to kind of short circuit that spiral, put these thoughts on the shelf for right now until you're calm enough, objective enough to be able to think through it without beating yourself up and tearing yourself down. You don't have to think this right now. You don't have to feel this right now. You can take a walk. You could scream into a pillow if you need to. Take a hardcore exercise to where you're breathing so hard that you can't possibly think anything right now. Yeah. It's important. When it's your business, mental health is incredibly important. Until you've built your business to a level that it is self-sustaining and you can afford to take time off without taking an income hit, you're the one that's keeping the lights on. So you've got to take care of yourself. That is a huge, huge priority that I think gets lost in the hustle and grind and work yourself into an early grave culture. I don't think it's healthy. I think once you get into those loops and you're not dealing with your feelings and thoughts and you're pushing them off forever, that's what leads to, these big name executives making really bad decisions that are driven by ego or driven by fear. So, not saying that I get it right all the time, but since I've worked on incorporating cognitive behavioral therapy and separating these thoughts and feelings from each other, and then really digging into, do I need to do this right now? Is this something that I need to deal with right now? Or even like online fights. Lord knows I love me some online debates, but do I need to get involved in this right now? Is this even worth the mental effort of getting frustrated? No. I'm able to really dismiss minor problems, figure out which problems really need my attention right now, which ones I can put off until later. And it's given me an incredible amount of freedom and clarity and left me feeling a lot more in control of my emotions than, suddenly a wayward feeling pops into my head and I'm done for the day and I can't do anything else. So that is what I have for you. It was probably a little bit heavier than you were expecting for a Monday morning, but it's really important. And, from my heart to yours, that's really what I hope you take away from this. Your feelings are valid, your thoughts are valid, but you don't have to think or feel them whenever they pop up into your head, because it's your brain, frankly, and you get to call the shots. So, yeah, that's what I have for you. Let's go kick some ass.